Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. I'm your host Dan, aka SMASho Mash, and we'll be talking about literally anything. And there's plenty to talk about. It's the least busted name in news, the Smash News Network. So thanks for tuning in, folks. We do have a chat window open here. Please leave us a comment if you've got anything to add, subtract, multiply, or divide from our content. Or if you'd like to exponentiate our content, whatever you like. It's the post-election SMASho mashup. So yeah, congratulations on surviving another election. I know it was very, very scary and spooky. And it's been, shall we say, an interesting year. Now, in 2019, I did indeed forecast, without using a crystal ball, that 2020 would be a year of clarity. And I was just basically talking numerologically speaking. But hey, what do you know? It turned out to be a massive year of clarity. Did you notice it becoming increasingly clear that there were certain scams and fraud and all kinds of other sorts of shady things going on all year? Did you notice something like that? Well, here at the Smash News Network, we noticed. And so, we figured we would bring it to some people's attention as it may be interesting. So, let's go to CNBC.com and peruse the headlines at CNBC.com. We'll also look at some financial information. So here on CNBC.com, we see, look, Biden takes the lead in Michigan. At least 159 million people voted. Okay. As I did report about 5 hours ago, that it looked like Trump had an insurmountable lead in that same state. It also looked like Trump had an insurmountable lead in Pennsylvania, but who knows what will happen? Oh my God, it's a potential gridlock. In any case, it looks to me, on first guess, that it's impossible for some of these leads to be overtaken by former Vice President Joe Biden. What say you? Leave us a comment. Leave us a comment. Content comment. A content comment for the content. Maybe we'll feature it. Oh, here we go. Chad Myers. Gotta know who you listen to. I listen to soundclick.com/Golden Cat Productions. It's where our record label has all the songs. And I just failed to type a second slash. Isn't that a shame? I apologize. Yeah, soundclick.com/Golden Cat Productions is who I listen to. And who I certainly don't listen to is mainstream news, and CNBC is indeed mainstream news. Let's go back to the headlines just for a quick second. Let's see. Latest news. North Dakota Republican who died of COVID-19 wins seat in state legislature. So that could be a bit of a problematic Republican state legislature. I don't know why that would be a latest news story on CNBC.com, a national news site, agency, whatever you want to say. Did you hear that early voting showed Biden winning a lot of different Chinese provinces? That was one of the ones that I heard. Some guy said the right can't meme. Quite interesting. But in any case, so I just wanted to share with you the fact that the stock market inadvertently predicts who it's expecting the president to be. Now, it's fairly widely known that a Biden presidency would most likely cause the stock market to crash. And so, if you see that the stock market has crashed, that could be an indication, because there's a lot of cash on hand. So let's see, in the last few minutes before the market opens, it's 9:24 right now. Do you know where your pre-markets are? Now, I used to be a day trader, so I know a little bit about this stuff. And while this stuff is not always an accurate indicator of what will really happen, it may be something to check out. So let's just see what's going on here. Geez, look at the size of this ad. Get that out of here. All right, so anyway, the Dow is expected to open up 45 points. The S&P is expected to open up 45 points. The NASDAQ is expected to open up 377 points, which is kind of weird because it seems like that might be an inversely proportional indicator, as the NASDAQ contains a lot of big tech companies who would probably not be benefited by a Donald Trump win. So this is interesting, and it's an indication that the markets are not sure what's going on with the election. And it's entirely possible that it will not be officially called until Friday. So I don't know what to tell you besides deal with it. Let's just take a quick look at some other stuff, some other matters here. Let's take a look at Bitcoin as reported by the Coinbase exchange. Bitcoin. There you go. Bitcoin is down. So perhaps somebody sold their Bitcoin and bought tech stocks. I don't know. Also, the second largest crypto, last I checked, Ethereum, as reported by the Coinbase exchange. Ethereum down $6.58 in pre-market trading. Next, we'll take a look at commodities real quick. Oil currently only $38.51 a barrel. There's the one-year chart of oil. Although up 85 cents on the day, it's been very flat throughout most of the COVID scamdemic. Gold is down $1.30 to $1,909.10. Silver is at $24.17 per ounce. There's a one-year chart of silver. So yeah, let us know what you think. I know the betting odds are typically something that comes into play also when it comes to trying to forecast elections. Let me bring up your chat window here. There we go. There's the chat. And thanks for leaving comments, Chad, Saturn's Raindrops, and more of Chad. All right, so Biden is the 1/3 favorite to win in the UK, Trump 9-4. Well, how could those be the odds? Either Trump, it's got to be 3-1 and 1-3 if you're betting on whether or not Trump or Biden will win. What are you talking about? How could you have 1-3 odds on one and 9-4 odds on the other? That doesn't make any sense. So Saturn's Raindrops, you seem to think that the election here in the U.S. is being rigged against Trump. Is that the theory? All right. I'm not arguing. I'm not even going to get into the realm of election fraud and voter fraud and mail-in ballots. I'll just look at the actual statistics. So yeah, I'm going to, let's bring up some other interesting stuff here. Let's go peruse the headlines at, I don't know, how about BuzzFeed? What do you think BuzzFeed's got to say about the election? I'll bet they've got something. And the top story is, there's no winner yet. Votes are still being counted and Trump is lying about the results. Oh my God. So when Biden came out and said he thinks they're going to win, and when Trump came out and said he thinks they're going to win, and by the way, Trump didn't say anything about stopping the vote count or anything like that. That's not a thing. But apparently at 2:30 a.m. he addressed an extremely tight presidential race. citing the fact that there were very large leads in some key states, and that they'd won some states they weren't even expecting to win, such as Florida. So that's interesting, and of course all of the news outlets pounced on this. Suggesting that Trump was lying. And, there's a lot of distinction to be made between lying and being incorrect. So who knows what will happen. But it looks entirely possible that it will come down to Pennsylvania. And let's not show BuzzFeed. By the way, CNN actually had some great graphics. They had a very interesting map. But let's go to 538 instead and see what they're going to cover. Now, I'm not super familiar, but let's just see what they've got to say over at 538. Last post 40 seconds ago. All right, interesting. It looks like the Republicans will retain the Senate. And there's that red flame kicking up again. Currently 225 to 213 electoral votes for Biden. The popular vote closer than it was in the 2016 election, at least so far. And it looks like we may have record-breaking turnout. .538 still reporting that Biden favored to win the election. I'm not so sure. It's a fine line between a landslide and a nail-biter. So what do you have to say about it? Leave us a comment, let us know who you think will win. I've sort of tipped my hand early. Keep in mind, folks, that I live in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. So I may have a bit of a skewed view of things because of that reason. And there we'll display your chats on the screen again. Again, thanks everybody for leaving comments. Saturn's raindrops say the MSM are probably just telling a false narrative as usual, and I would tend to agree, as it's not only the mainstream media either, it's also big tech. I mean, big tech has been a full-fledged disaster when it comes to bias and so on. And I've been shouting from the rooftops about it since 2016 because it became super obvious that big tech was involved, and it was well documented. And guess what? That information got suppressed for the last 4 years. I mean, it's common knowledge that Google had a meeting after the last election and said, oh my God, what are we going to do? We have to prevent another Trump situation. And I'm not so sure that they've prevented another Trump situation. In fact, I certainly know a lot of people who were never Trumpers in the last election who are now avid Trump supporters. And frankly, I don't blame them because the alternative is horrifying. So while Trump is not going to shrink the government or curb spending, the prospect of a Kamala Harris White House is horrifying enough to make Hillary Clinton look kind of cute. I mean, seriously, think about Hillary as president and then think about Kamala as president. I'm horrified. I'm like, bathe me in red flames before either of these witches. However, Hillary just seems like an old pal compared to Kamala Harris. I mean, Kamala Harris, a crooked cop who slept her way into the DA's office in LA, and this is not disputed facts here, folks. This is known stuff. Kamala Harris, enough to blow out any fire. I mean, just grotesque candidates have been coming down the aisle for the Democrat Party. What can I say? I mean, look, they should have nominated Bernie the last time, and they should have nominated Bernie this time. They didn't nominate Bernie. I would have loved to have seen a national debate and a national referendum on democratic socialism, or whatever he's calling it today. I would like to see a national referendum on insanely high taxes and the 1%. By the way, did you notice how Bernie stopped using the term 1%? You notice that? Yeah, you noticed that, right? Any idea why? Wait for it. Wait for it. It's because Bernie is part of the 1%. The combined incomes of Bernie and Jane are well into the 1%. I mean, Bernie's Senate salary alone practically makes him a 1%er. And they own 3 properties, one in D.C., one in Lake Placid, and one in Burlington, Vermont. I would imagine that they're both rather luxurious. Wouldn't you say so? Because, you know, Bernie's really looking out for the little guy, which is why the little guy wasted $27 on his 2016 campaign. And Bernie Sanders hurting the poor without even passing any legislation throughout his entire career in the Senate. Having authored 0 bills, Bernie Sanders is a legit illiterate. He's not just an economic illiterate, he's an actual illiterate. As far as overpopulation goes, Nay, I don't think the planet's overpopulated in any way. I mean, it's not overpopulated. It just isn't. The planet can sustain probably well over 10 billion people by my back-of-the-napkin calculations. I mean, the vast amount of resources available on the planet versus the reasonable allocation of said resources is completely out of proportion. So, you know, it's the problem is with resources, and, you know, that brings me back to Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders is correct about a lot of things, like wealth and income inequality and so on. This is something that would benefit everybody if it changed, because the economy would just work entirely differently, as opposed to way too much money in the hands of certain elite entities who are not good stewards of that wealth. And, you know, look, companies like Google, Facebook, and Twitter are 100% responsible for a lot of this stuff. So in any case, the accountability of these big tech giants is actually one of the major reasons why I'm so anti-Joe Biden. It's because a Democrat president has 0 probability of holding big tech accountable for what it's been doing for the past 4 years. The shareholders who invest in these companies are not investing to get biased search results, have ineffective information showing up on YouTube channels. I mean, channels that spout complete nonsense and outright lies are paid tens of thousands of dollars a month to tell you that lens flare is Nibiru. Chris Cuomo, I mean, what's Chris Cuomo's salary? Is that publicly available? Chris Cuomo over at CNN, what's that guy's salary? He's a complete hack. He should work for the Democratic National Committee, not for CNN. That guy's as much of a journalist as Bernie Sanders is an economist. It's a joke. So in any case, let me just get back to the chat here and stop ranting. I'll bring up the chat. Yeah, a lot of people seem to think that Trump won, so I don't know. This is an interesting turn of events, and thanks again, everybody, for leaving comments. We sort of wanted to, you know what your opinions were, as well as, you know, look into it a little bit. So, in any case, the projected electoral vote, the projected number of electors that each candidate will get is very close. And just keep in mind that Pennsylvania has a lot of electoral votes. I don't know the exact number. I don't really care, but it's got a lot. And considering mail-in ballots that are postmarked yesterday, November 3rd, it's going to take them at least 2 days to get to wherever they're being sent, the voting official. So, for example, I know a little bit about this because I asked. So in Pennsylvania, here's how it works. And I got a mail-in ballot, right? So my vote is one of the expected mail-in ballots. I voted in person, but in Pennsylvania, when you vote in person, you have to bring your mail-in ballot with you so that the judge of elections can destroy that ballot. So what happens is you fill out a form that says, I acknowledge that I'm voting in person and that I'm submitting the mail-in ballot for destruction, and that's just the way it works. So that's, that was what happened to me. I was smart enough to know that I had to bring my mail-in ballot with me. But so if I would have decided to fill it out in the morning, put it in the mailbox, and have it sent off, it hasn't even been received yet. So the issues here are the number of mail-in and absentee ballots that are still outstanding. And if you start looking at the math as to, are there even enough outstanding votes available to override some of these current results, I don't know. It looked pretty bleak for Joe Biden about 5 hours ago. And now we're seeing the tide turn a little bit, actually. Maybe it's because people from CNN, MSNBC, CBS, ABC, NBC, etc. all got out of bed and started putting out disinformation. I just don't really know. But let's have a little history lesson. Walter Cronkite revealed after the Vietnam conflict that he was reporting on the entire Vietnam War from a biased perspective, that he's a leftist. And, Walter Cronkite, he came clean. He was a charlatan for a long, long time, and I believe he worked for CBS at the time. And look at CBS. It's completely biased to this day. It tries to act like real journalists. They air shows like 2020. I mean, it's not even close to being objective in any way. It's you're looking at incredibly biased news. And I don't know. Maybe people think that network news stations are for some reason more legit than cable news, but I don't know. So for those of you who don't understand this, network news stations are like ABC, NBC, and CBS. Cable news stations are like Fox News, Fox Business, CNN, MSNBC, Headline News, and all of those other type of entities. So in any case, Walter Cronkite is sort of one of the pioneers of fake news. Because Walter Cronkite, he came out and he said, "Look, I was biased." So let's head to another website here, as it's always interesting to see what is going on. Let's see if CNN has decided to try to be unbiased. Somehow I doubt it. So here we've got CNN's homepage, and the headline is, "Where the Race to 270 Stands." So right now, according to CNN, Biden is leading by 11 electoral votes projected. So Pennsylvania is not on there. Pennsylvania, Arizona, Nevada. I thought Nevada was already called. Pretty sure that Trump won Nevada. So I don't know. I don't know. And look, I can't go count the votes. So, but that's what CNN's reporting. Let's see what their map looks like. Maybe their map is good. I don't know if I'll have access to the same map that they have, but here's the forecast. Maine, North Carolina, Georgia, Pennsylvania, Arizona, and Nevada. Not yet decided according to CNN, as well as Michigan and Wisconsin. So that's very interesting. Let me bring the chat up again. And thanks once again, everybody, for leaving comments. We'll let this scroll for anybody who's recently tuned in. As we want to air everybody's opinion. And I'm going to take a little break here. I'm going to take about a 2-minute break, folks. I'm just going to bring up a Golden Cat Productions track. If anybody has any opinion as to what track to play, well, leave us a comment. We'll consider playing whatever track you want, assuming it contains no profanity. It's all material that I own, so there's no doubt that we will receive no copyright strikes. Let's play this one, actually. It's a little bit longer. It's pretty weird. It's called Power Bait. You can actually play this one at soundclick.com/Golden Cat Productions. And bear with me. I'll be right back. I've got to take a little break and whoosh, vanish. Enjoy Power Bait. All right, I'm back. This is a weird little break in the song here. I'm going to show you the SoundClick page. It's soundclick.com/GoldenCatProductions. Again, thanks everybody for leaving comments. This is what it looks like. There are 15 tracks there. And again, it's soundclick.com/GoldenCatProductions. Link in the description. We've had a bunch of charted songs on here. It's basically instrumental rock. And this is almost like We Will Mock You by Media Bear. Shout out to Media Bear. The best video of the year. Safety Mask with a close second of We Will Mock You. And again, this one's called Power Bait. There's the track. Add it to your MP3 collection for only 99 cents. Yeah, so let's get back to the election mop-up. As it's a bit of a, I've created a spontaneous music video. Oh my God, it's a red flames. And I don't know how we've gotten on UBS Wealth Management, but that's not an advertisement. That's an accidental web page opening. And check it out, it's Sunspot 2781. Let's look at the most recent magnetogram. There you go. So yeah, there are the results so far. And again, folks, look, don't get your panties in a bunch because you got a long, long way to go. A long way to go until Friday when the results from Pennsylvania show up. And it might take even longer than that because keep in mind, I'm not sure what the actual policy is in Pennsylvania right now, but they might be accepting absentee ballots that are postmarked after November 3rd. I honestly don't know. So, again, thanks everybody for leaving comments. Are they viewed? Yes, they're visible there. Dusty Plasma reports McSally lost. She wants to stir the pot. Chad Myers thinks Trump won. Saturn's Raindrops thinks the mainstream media are probably telling a false narrative as usual. Let me shrink this down because we wouldn't want to prevent No Malarkey Joe's face from being on the screen, right? Check it out. It's No Malarkey Joe. Let's do it. Let's do an image. Oh, my God. Look, it's No Malarkey Joe. Get that out of here. All right, so anyway. Yeah, there's the current numbers. It's only at 11 electoral votes projected. This is as unofficial as it gets, by the way. Mary Wright thinks Trump's got this. Thanks for your comment, Mary. Chad Myers thinks every year is record-breaking due to overpopulation. I think he means the voting, although I'm not sure. Chad Myers, building houses on top of houses seem to turn you Democratic if you live in those areas. I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure, but I'm going to read the rest of the comments as if I'm Boyne, and thanks all the sun for citing the fact that I do a good Boyne. Now, I know that I do a good Boyne because I have been highly, highly leveraged to campaign for Bernie Sanders since the inception of Trump's campaigns, because it's always been very, very interesting how people could be so interested in a candidate who does weird mechanical motions like Bernie does without having ever taken a macroeconomics course. Now, Bernie has been collecting taxpayer dollars as his paycheck for approximately 67 years. And now, Bernie was born in the silent era. Well, no, just kidding. Bernie's not that old. He's pretty old. But did you know that Bernie was thrown out of a hippie commune? Well, how could that happen? How could that be a thing? Bernie was thrown out of a hippie commune? Yeah, it's real, folks. I'm not lying. Bernie was thrown out of a hippie commune because he wouldn't do his hippie commune chores and just sat around complaining about the rich, the 1%, and the millionaires. Because at the time, he couldn't say millionaires and billionaires. But now he's removed the millionaires because Bernie is a millionaire, and being a millionaire is no longer an issue because of the same policies that Bernie cites as helping the poor, even though inflation hurts the poor way worse than it hurts the rich that he dislikes so much. It's an insane idea. And it all comes down to the way Bernie fills his swimming pool. Bernie fills his swimming pool the way he does government, which is why Bernie, and shout out Bernie, we love you. It's why Bernie has an empty swimming pool all the time. And it's because he fills it up by taking a pitcher of water and dipping it into the deep end and then waddling to the shallow end, spilling half of the water in the way. That's what we call a giant heaving bureaucracy that can't get out of its own way. And then pouring the remainder in the shallow end. That's how Bernie operates. What can I say? He's a supply and demand denier, which is why I say my goldfish know more about economics than Bernie Sanders does. Dear Vermont, please take a macroeconomics course because there is a thing called the Laffer curve. The Laffer curve is what causes government tax revenue to be lower, assuming the government applies a high enough tax rate. Now, what does this mean? What this means is that if you charge a high enough tax rate, people will start intentionally reducing their income. Now, I've got some insight into this because I used to have a boss who wanted to have less work because he wanted to earn under $100,000 because he didn't want to be in a higher tax bracket. You see how that works? So for every politician out there that is telling you that, oh, don't worry, higher taxes stimulate the economy, he's lying to you. Higher taxes stimulate his checking account balance. All right, so let's get back to the election results. So on CNN projection, who's leading? Oh my God! It looks like Pennsylvania is leading toward Trump. And thank goodness. Even Peter Schiff cites the fact that while Trump will continue to inflate U.S. currency, debasing the dollar, and grow government bigger and bigger, Biden would deface the currency even worse, debase the currency, deface the currency, deface the country's financial credibility, make the government much, much bigger. What we gotta do is we gotta roll back all of these Trump tax cuts, and we gotta make the government much, much bigger because the government is so efficient at spending your dollars, isn't it? Leave us a comment if your local official should be fired for being not only corrupt, but utterly incompetent and not able to do his own job. Anybody who wants to make the government bigger is not somebody who'll be voted for by me. What else do we have here? And thanks for the comments, everybody. Syndicated. Apparently Chad Myers likes Syndicated. Thanks, Pull My Finger. Thanks, John White. Renee. Chad, All the Sun, and all the rest. Bernie's already 79? Let's look up Bernie Sanders on Wikipedia. As I am a leading Bernie Sanders historian, I started studying Bernie back in 2016. It was fascinating to me that people could know as little about economics as they do and support this pathetic excuse for a political candidate, a complete charlatan who should wear one of these villain mustaches. I don't know, maybe a goatee. What do you think? How about a giant fro? How about a giant fro and a clown nose? Oh, Bernie, you're so cute. So, yeah. 79 years old. We'll all be doggone. Now, many of our viewers may be well aware that Wikipedia has a bit of a leftist slant. I'm not sure. Pretty sure it does. Because if you look up certain things, there's a lot of, little attempts to try to... Oh, check it out. It's Bernie's signature. Oh, look at that. He's so humble that he only signs his first name. Now, Bernie's from Brooklyn. He definitely tried to be a carpenter for like 4 weeks, and he sucked at the job. He definitely lived on a hippie commune and got thrown out because he kept complaining about the rich. So what Bernie would like to do is he would like to lower the bar for everybody and make the U.S. into a Soviet-style state. This way, everybody could have equality and be ready to commit suicide tomorrow. Seriously, though, I really wish Bernie would have won the primary, because Bernie is... If Bernie would have won the primary, the Democrat Party wouldn't be completely in shambles right now, because Bernie would have won the primary, and the Democrats would have realized that they might not want to go full Soviet leftism. See what I'm saying? Right now, the state that the Democrat Party is in it's not so good. Now, has Trump destroyed the Republican Party? I don't know. But let me just give you some history on myself. I used to be a Democrat. Now, while I never had any official party affiliation, I used to read Rolling Stone magazine, back in the mid-90s. In fact, starting in 1987, I became an environmentalist because I learned about how scary and spooky, not you, I was talking about carbon dioxide. All right, so anyway, in 1987, I learned how scary and spooky carbon dioxide was. And I was fairly convinced that by the year 2000, about 1/3 of Florida would be underwater, because Florida has an average altitude of like 4 feet or something like that. I mean, I'm exaggerating a little bit, but seriously, Florida, which is, by the way, where my mom lives, would be underwater if the projections were correct. Projections by people like James Hansen. So, yeah. But the reason that I was anti-conservative back in the late 80s through the mid-90s is because of censorship. So what's happened is the pendulum has swung, and it's taken decades for it to do so here in the U.S. Back in the late 80s and early 90s, the Republican Party, or what we would call like conservatives, the quote right wing, I was much more authoritarian than it is now. And it's because the reason I had beef was because they wanted to censor music. So at the time, bands like Two Live Crew, and of course the government even tried to crack down in some cases on bands like Motley Crue and, Judas Priest and so on. And I always thought that was ridiculous and a violation of the First Amendment. And so, but how times have changed, haven't they? You know, here at the Smash News Network, we've certainly noticed that there's been a bit of a fraud, scam, hack nonsense going on. Dictionaries being rewritten. What about the word sexual preference? What happened to the word sexual preference? Oh my God. The word sexual preference has been redefined by Merriam-Webster. Interesting times in which we live, aren't they? The sad part is that a lot of media and big tech organizations think that they can just mysteriously change the narrative and everybody will just believe them. But guess what? It's not the way it works. So, so let us know about your experiences and what you think is going on with big tech, big media, and so forth. It's been a big mess, and for some reason, there is a slant toward leftism. I wonder what Wikipedia has to say about leftism. I wonder what they have to say about Wikipedia. So, right here a prime example of the way Wikipedia reports things. Leftism supports social equality and egalitarianism, which, if you don't know, it means political philosophy that builds on social equity, often in opposition to social hierarchy. So this is very interesting. To me, left-wing politics means making the government bigger. What do you say in the chat? Let me get back to where we were. Yeah, so cheers, Chad. Trying to not put a diaper on my face. And which brings me to another interesting point. Have you seen the video for Safety Mask? It's my current favorite video. If you type in safety mask, oh, maybe it's been banned. Has it been banned? Suddenly I don't, oh, there it is. So the YouTube channel Media Bear. You should 100% subscribe to Media Bear. Shout out to Media Bear. They don't need my help. They've got 32,000 subscribers. I've got barely 1,600. But if you haven't seen this video, I highly suggest you watch it. Now, I've got problems with wearing masks, and the problem is that masks are highly ineffective. They're highly ineffective at stopping viruses. They're highly ineffective at protecting the wearer of the mask. They are effective at one thing, and the thing that they are effective at is pissing me off, because people like Tom Wolfe and Rachel Levine, who are making health decisions for the state of Pennsylvania, aren't qualified to rake your leaves, much less decide what you should do in response to infectious diseases. It's utterly pathetic and a joke. So I'm going to play a little clip from the video here, Safety Mask by Media Bear. Enjoy a clip and make sure you subscribe to Media Bear. They've also got the second best video of the year, We Will Mock You. Maybe we'll show you a clip from that in a bit as this extended live stream continues on and on.
Wear a mask, everybody's wearing a mask.
Do you honestly believe that these surgical masks are somehow keeping you safe? Seriously, leave us a comment, let us know. Let us know if you think that this type of mask is going to keep you safe. And then leave us another comment if you also think this type of mask is going to keep others safe. Now, I believe in wearing this kind of mask in certain situations, such as healthcare provider situations. For instance, if you're doing surgery on somebody, you've got a giant hole in their body that you've created with a scalpel. You may not want to cough into the hole. It could be unhealthy for the patient. It may lead to what we call a bad health outcome, which is why if you have one of these masks on and you cough, all of the cough particulate and vapor is going to come out of the side of the mask instead of out of the front of the mask, preventing it from ending up in the giant hole that you've made in your patient by cutting them open with a scalpel. Which means, if you're standing in line at a grocery store, now you want to cough to the side of somebody. Listen, last year at this time, nobody was coughing on me in a grocery store. What about you? Last year at this time, antibiotic-resistant tuberculosis was already a thing. Last year at this time, I was doing the same thing that I would prefer to do right now in a grocery store, which is grocery shop, don't get coughed on, don't cough on anybody. If you're sick, order a pizza instead of going to the grocery store. Don't go out. And then, after coming home, put the groceries away, wash your hands, and resume your normal life. Not spray Lysol on your bag of Doritos before you idiotically eat it. Not ignore your respiratory health. Not, what the heck happened here? We've got... There we go. By the way, don't forget to read our scrolling marquee on the bottom of the videos. We change that regularly, almost every day, if not every day. This just in, election results to be analyzed live. Not analyzed. Analyzed. Live in live SMAsho stream following the Daily Space Weather, which we did. Now let's change the marquee before your very eyes. Breaking news. You may have Trump derangement syndrome if you're mad about, I can type, I swear, about our You may have Trump derangement syndrome if you're mad about our coverage. Yes. As I cannot give up the ability to be objective, I just have it. So anyway, without further ado, here's a clip from Safety Mask. Another clip. My favorite video of the year. Wear the mask. Wear the mask. Regurgitate what you're told.
Regurgitate what you're told. Wear the mask. Wear the mask. Put a piece of cloth on your face.
Because you're going to save the whole human race, folks. So, hey, thanks everybody who's been wearing a mask. You're being very, very responsible humans out there. Let's go back to CNN for breaking news. And go back to the chat. Yeah, I'm done with a mask. And let me just share another one of my personal experiences about wearing a mask. So, I've been having contact dermatitis. So if you see that I've been touching my face a lot, you may realize that early in the pandemic, I used to tell people that after I returned home from work, where I was required to wear a mask, I would come home, take a shower, and then touch my face 1,000 million times. Well, guess what? Now I've got dermatitis all over my face, probably because of wearing a mask. So, once again, I've become actually more susceptible to infectious diseases, at least ones that are infectious via the skin, by having inflammation on the surface of my skin known as dermatitis. So I have dermatitis. It's mainly around my ears where the ear loop masks were worn. And while I stopped wearing an ear loop mask about a week ago, I've modified those masks so it has a single band that goes around the back of my head instead of hanging onto my ears. The dermatitis has not yet gone away. So whether it's because of some sort of fibers associated with the mask, or whether it's some sort of chemicals on the mask or in the mask, or outgassing from UV exposure while wearing, who knows? Who knows what it is? I've yet to do any chemical analysis of it because I don't really have the capability. But as far as contact surface mask wearing, I have now become more susceptible to any sort of a skin-based problem. So whether it's subcutaneous anthrax or whether it's any sort of skin problems, I'm now more susceptible, and it's 99% likely that it's because of wearing a mask. I never had any kind of dermatitis problems. I'm scratching my forehead right now because it's itchy. My skin is scaly and all jacked up, and it's because of wearing masks. I mean, I have no other explanation. There's nothing else makes any sense. I've got other also more annoying inflammation markers, which may or may not be related. I just don't know. But frankly, I'm about to quit the job, sue the entire management team, and sue Governor Tom Wolf and Rachel Levine. Former NCAA linebacker Rachel Levine is not qualified to make healthcare decisions for me. I'm a pro athlete. Dr. Rachel Levine is not a pro anything besides a child psychologist or a pediatrician. I don't know, whatever. Anyway, it looks like Minnesota's being projected to be a Biden state now. So we're really waiting. I'm really surprised that Nevada is not being reported. It's actually showing a Biden lead. So I saw early reports showing Nevada had already been won by Trump. I don't know what's going on. It's looking awfully, awfully odd. But look at the lead in Pennsylvania. It's an 11-point lead. So there are 20 electoral votes at stake. Trump is leading by almost 600,000 votes in Pennsylvania. So there's an interesting stat courtesy of CNN.com's election coverage. Trump showing 54.7% of the vote, Biden 43.9%. Is that even able to be overcome by mail-in and absentee ballots? I'm not so sure. Let's go back to the chat. Again, thanks everybody for leaving comments. Pull my finger, I am in envy of you, having not worn face diapers since April. That's amazing. Now, for those of you not aware, I work in the food supply chain. So my job is to be the head of the spear for the laboratory at which I work. So most of my work is actually done via logistics, but really supply chain, it's what we're doing is we're testing the food supply chain. So my real job is a chain of custody role, and I spend most of my time driving because I've got to drive to clients that are all over mostly the eastern portion of Pennsylvania. So I drive all around. I pick up little tiny boxes of stuff and little bags of sponges and swabs and so on, and then I bring them back to our lab. And that's primarily it. I have to know what the procedures are and all that stuff. So anyway, not only does this give me insight into the state of affairs when it comes to the U.S. food supply, and I do talk to certain wholesalers who deal in meat, and when you deal in meat, you have to understand the Midwest supply chain as well, because most meat in the U.S. comes from the Midwest. If you're not aware, you may have seen the prices in grocery stores go up 80, 90, 150% in like May and June because of processing problems. That was not because of crop losses, failures in animal husbandry, or anything like that. That was all because of processing. Why did the processing drop down? Because state governors idiotically shut down all kinds of stuff in the states. That's why it happened. There's no reason to lie about it or to exaggerate or anything like that. The reason ground beef prices went up is because A, grocery stores can charge whatever they want for ground beef, and B, people believed the nonsensical narrative that there were problems in the supply chain. There weren't. The problems were in processing. And the problems in processing were caused by shutdowns that were unnecessary. Giant manufacturing facilities completely changed their whole process. They retooled entire factories in order to allow people to stand instead of 3 feet apart, 6 feet apart, or whatever. And that takes like a month to retool a whole factory. So that's what happened. All of the shutdowns across the whole country were caused by governors and mayors and local officials, not the federal government. So anyway, let me get back to the chat here because it's about time to wrap this thing up. And let's see. So that's just a little insight into what I do, why I understand what's going on in the northeast portion of the continent. And we also have clients from all across the country and even some international clients. But the lab I currently work in and the lab I do logistics for is for the northeast portion of the U.S. And the clients that handle stuff not out of the northeast portion of the U.S. are clients that I talk to about what's going on. So, for example, here's where I'm located. Here's where your beef comes from mostly. And the client that I talk to only raised the price on ground beef 4 cents per pound. All right, that's bad. They only raised the price 4 cents a pound. Did you notice that your local grocery store price gouged? Where they like doubled the price? Well, the reason they did so is because they could and because you were willing to pay it. So the insight that gave me was to just simply reduce my ground beef consumption and beef consumption in general, mainly during the month of June, and I avoided all of those price hikes. Why? Because I have real-time information about it, and I'm not unwilling to share with viewers, assuming that I get paid for it. So in any case, back to the chat here. Yeah, in Pennsylvania, a state being ruined by Governor Tom Wolf, Pennsylvania's leading COVIDiot, masks are generally required everywhere. Now, if I owned a business, depending on what it was, I might have sold it back in sometime like late spring, early summer. And I might have sued the governor. I don't know. I'm still considering suing the governor because the governor has created a hostile work environment at my own workplace. I'm experiencing significant health issues, inflammatory issues associated with this mask wearing nonsense. And it's not something that was figured into any sort of contracts. So you never know. I might just decide to allocate massive amounts of resources to attorneys instead of to basic survival to hold accountable those who are accountable. All right, so I'm going to take a break real quick. Not real quick. It's going to take like 5 minutes. And I'm going to play another track for you here, folks. I'm going to Vanish. I'm going to play another track. This one is going to be Tilt-A-Whirl 2. Actually, we'll play Tilt-A-Whirl 1. And yes, it's named for the amusement park ride. I'll be back in about 3 minutes. All right, I'm back. I apologize for the delay. All right, so what else do we have here? Just scrolling down the chat here. Yeah, I wish I was done with the mask. And I consider quitting my job every single day because the laboratory that I work in, which caught on fire yesterday, by the way, requires us to wear a mask. And it's an embarrassing, ineffective disgrace to science to suggest that wearing a mask is effective at preventing a coronavirus. It's an affront to science itself. And that is why it is so offensive and depressing. And really, it's an insult to everybody's professional reputation, because working at a place that requires you to wear masks means that it's managed by somebody that thinks masks are effective or whatever. So, anyway, enough of that. My stance on masks is science-based, not propaganda-based. And so, again, last year in 2019, I certainly forecasted that 2020 would be a year of clarity. Why? Just because of the number 2020. 2020 vision, clarity, all that sort of stuff. Well, I did not expect it to be as clear as it would be. And while I expected it to be a completely ridiculous election season, and believe me, I did. I thought it would be amazing. I thought there would be an endless supply of hilarious material just because of the election. Because look, Trump is he's a funny dude. All right? Anybody that is out there trying to tell you that Trump is not hilarious, they're lying. And there's plenty of stuff to make fun of about Trump. And I've been just as critical of Democrat presidents as I have Republican presidents. So don't hit me with this, you're not objective, you're not partisan. What I want to see is less waste, fraud, and abuse from the government. So, and this is why I was so stoked about Rand Paul, and indeed as Ted Cruz as a potential presidential candidate. Could those guys have accomplished what Trump has accomplished in terms of Middle East peace talks and stuff like this? I mean, look, back in the 90s, I used to always be like, all right, I'm out. Peace in the Middle East, Joe. Because I want peace in the Middle East. I'm an honorary member of a Syrian family, okay? So I really want to see peace in the Middle East. It's a big deal to me. And the historic peace agreements that have happened, which could maybe only have been received under Trump, are a thing that should not be discounted, as this is a part of the planet that has been under siege for thousands of years. Thousands of years. So you may want to take that into consideration. And also, last but not least, you may want to take into consideration if you are somebody lucky enough to own real estate. Unlike me, I don't own any real estate, or at least not any that I'm willing to tell you about. But in any case, if you own real estate, you may be very perturbed by the fact that your local government makes you pay rent. Yeah, that's right, it's called property taxes. How many presidential candidates have you heard who would like to abolish property taxes? Now, I understand some places call them school taxes, and you could call them late for supper for all I care. But if you have to pay money to maintain ownership of a property that you already own because you've paid it off, that's a violation of the Fourth Amendment. So, in any case, I don't want to really get down into that rabbit hole. We're going to go back to the chat one more time here. Anything else anybody's got to say, let us know now, because speak now or forever hold your pissants. Don't hold your pissants. Your pissants may try to cite you for kidnapping if you hold them in a holding cell or transport them to another location. Apple cider vinegar, yes. Apple cider vinegar is very interesting, right? Here's what I have to say about apple cider vinegar. Apple cider vinegar cures acid reflux. It's a cure. It's a cure. You know, go out and buy some organic apple cider vinegar for your acid reflux, and you'll find that it goes away. I mean, all you do is, and ask SMASH staff about this, as SMASH staff uses it as well. The same forces that cause your lips to pucker when you have a mouthful of apple cider vinegar causes your esophageal sphincter to pucker, and it helps it to gain muscle tone, and it's just the cure. What can I say? Don't fill up on Tums. Tums kills your intestinal gut flora. Don't kill off your gut biome. It's very, very important. And by the way, the intestines are the most crucial aspect of your immune system. So, in any case, an allergic reaction to the metal on the nose piece. Well, nay, I can tell you exactly what's causing that. That's caused by an allergy to nickel. I mean, I would bet cash on it, because here's the thing. When we'd like a piece of metal to not degrade, we put nickel in the matrix, because nickel is one of the most poisonous metals in the world, if not the most poisonous metal in the world. Nickel. Everybody's allergic to it in high doses. It's ultra toxic. The reason why a nickel-plated firearm never rusts is, well, that has to do with the molecular aspects of the matrix, but nickel is an antiseptic. It kills biotic organisms, including your cells. So, for instance, if I wear a cheap watch, there's going to be nickel in the bezel, and it's going to make my wrist rust. Even surgical stainless steel often contains nickel, and indeed when I'm asked by anybody who's going to have to be my doctor if I have allergies, I tell them that I'm very sensitive to nickel. It's a very poisonous metal, and you look up nickel-free products. It's in all kinds of things, and it's something to get out of your sort of chemical diet. I would bet the farm that your metal nose piece contains nickel. So you drink apple cider vinegar when you're thirsty. All right. Don't destroy your kidneys. Stay hydrated. I should show up in a hazmat suit. I almost went to vote yesterday in a hazmat suit. I just didn't want to cause any more nonsense, because I've had enough of the COVID. And look, dude, we pay you off every day as an extra. You got to just hang around above my head all the time? And you realize that you're cheap and plastic and made in China, right? What? You've become sentient? What are you talking about? You're sentient now? I can't believe this. COVID. Nod if you are now sentient. If you understand. What the heck? COVID. COVID, move to the other side of the screen if you are a particularly dangerous virus. All right. COVID, move to the other side of the screen if sunlight and 130 degree plus temperatures and all kinds of other things destroy you on the molecular level. Holy crap. All right, well, anyway, case closed on COVID. Sorry, COVID. Look, I don't consider you an enemy. Can we just do a handshake? Thanks, COVID. You're a stand-up virus. I don't know. Did I kill it? I don't even know what happened. All right, it's about time to close this thing out. Thanks again, everybody who left comments, who viewed, etc. Share on your social media. Tell your friends, foes, science noobs, science pros, whatever. It's about that time. And yeah, property taxes are unacceptable, especially considering whose salaries are being paid by said property taxes. We won't get into it. It's about that time. Look for more content possibly coming today. It's a secret as to what's going on here at the Smash News Network. And yeah, we'll see you soon with more content. Thanks for leaving comments, etc. And we'll see you in the Twitter sphere until we come out with some more videos. Holla.